Today we're chatting with a high-level entrepreneur and best-selling author about what it truly means to build yourself as a brand, refusing to accept excuses, and finding balance with your values, your business, and your family life. You definitely don't want to miss this one, so don't you change that dial or drop that phone. We're about to level it up and shatter the mold. Question. In a world where groupthink is the norm, others want what you've earned, and thinking for yourself will get a target painted on your back, how do you flip the script and level up your business, your money, relationships, your health, your status, and your life? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Andrew S. Kaplan, and it's time to shatter the mold. Welcome to another episode of Shatter the Mold. Andrew S. Kaplan. Really excited to be here with you today. We've got very interesting and very insightful guests, but before we get there, as always, just want to do the quick update thing and thank everyone who's purchased a copy of the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. Really grateful for all the feedback, all the 5-star reviews, all the emails I get letting me know how you like the content. And all I can say is thank you so much. It continues to go well, and there's a lot more to go from here. And of course, the YouTube channel devoted to it, that's just the Andrew Cap YouTube channel, that continues to do well and get more subscribers every single day. So thanks to everyone who really just enjoys the content. And if you want to check out the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, you can very easily do so by going to lastlawofattractionbook.com. That'll auto forward to the Amazon listing where you can get it in Kindle or paperback or audiobook. But if you don't want to pull out your wallet, like I said, there's a YouTube channel with free content and a lot of content at that. That's youtube.com/AndrewCap. Feel free to check it out. But with that said, let's dive straight into today's guest. Jeff Lopes is the host of the top-rated Jeff Knows Inc. entrepreneurial podcast and is the founder of numerous companies, having taken a number of them to 7- and 8-figure levels. These include True Blue Homes, a portfolio of vacation rental properties across the northern parts of Ontario, and Kimura Wear, a boxing and martial arts equipment brand, which he actually started building out in his own basement back in 2006. He's also a proud father of 2, and over the past 4 years, he's coached countless entrepreneurs in balancing the obstacles of fatherhood and entrepreneurship and achieving a higher level of success in both areas. He's also a best-selling author and has leveraged all of his experience to create Man's Purpose, the fastest-growing community of entrepreneur dads on the planet. With a pedigree of experience and achievement like that, you know Jeff has a lot of wisdom and insight to share. So without any further ado, Shatter the Mold warmly welcomes Jeff Lopes. Jeff, thank you so much for being here, my friend, and welcome to Shatter the Mold.
I appreciate having you, man. This is going to be a great conversation. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for giving this platform for entrepreneurs and authors and other individuals to relay their stories.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm grateful to have an entrepreneur like yourself. And obviously, we're all hesitant. We don't want to toot our own horns, but you've got quite a pedigree. You've got quite a track record of helping people on high levels. To let you be a little bit, whether modest or not modest, kind of hand over to you. How would you describe what you do or what you've done in the context of working with entrepreneurs?
There's so many different levels of that. I mean, I was always the type, Andrew, I needed to build myself as an expert in a field before I was able to serve others. So a lot of coaches nowadays, they get a certification, they start automatically coaching. I had that mindset. I needed to build the experience. So I was an entrepreneur for around 25 years before I really dove into coaching. And I was very successful at it. So I've had numerous companies I built and exited. I started a company in 2006 called Kimura Wear, which is boxing manufacturing of boxing martial art equipment. And that company is now going on to 15 years in business. I have a company called True Blue Homes, where we have 9 vacation and commercial rentals. So I've built all these portfolios and all these companies. And roughly around 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I had a lot of younger entrepreneurs asking for me to coach them, and they're willing to pay me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to really dive into coaching. So I gave myself a 3-year period where I actually coached 64 entrepreneurs and never charged a penny. And I took some of them up to 7 figures. And all I did was build video testimonials, which I have tons of those. And I built experience for myself. And I built a knowledge of how to handle people, how to coach, what worked, what didn't work. And I put that all together. And over the last 12 years, I've really dove into parenting. I studied parenting, studied fatherhood, and that had to go with a story I could talk to it about later on about my son when he was born. And that knowledge and that comfort level I built around parenting and fatherhood, I started looking around like, you know what, there's a lot of entrepreneurs. And as much as entrepreneurs hate the word balance, I was seeing my own eyes that they cannot figure out how to balance being a father and being an entrepreneur. And there's a reason why the divorce rate for entrepreneurs is so high. It's like in Canada, it's like 60 something percent. And I was like, they were not understanding. And I had to figure it out. Like I have a decently happy marriage, 18 years. I got two amazing kids. I'm home 3 to 7 every single night. I got 3 incredible companies. I was coaching, I'm writing books, I'm writing a podcast. I'm like, how do I do it all? I'm no different from anybody else. The only difference is I learned how to manage my schedule. I learned how to figure out which parts of my life were non-negotiable and which parts of my life I had to eliminate. And by doing that over the last 12 months, I was able to give back and really dive into coaching, but I put it at a different level. I wanted to really be targeted, and I targeted a lot of my audience towards entrepreneurial dads and helping them scale their business, scale their family life, but at the same time, find that balance and also pour back into themselves at the same time.
Now, when we're talking about balance, when we're talking about claiming your schedule and being, I guess, as efficient and productive as possible, where is the gold? And what I mean by that is it in, being wise and hiring staff to do things for you? Is it in giving yourself a limited time window and just making yourself do things? Because, there's that theory of like, if you give yourself 5 weeks to do something or 5 days, you're going to do it. It's that cap. Is it one of those things? Is it both of those things? Is it something I'm not thinking of? Like, where's the real gold based on your experience that people can really leverage and they should really look at and work on in order to successfully do this?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts of that. The first is what you said. The sooner you could fire yourself from position in your business, the more time you'll be able to free yourself to do the things you love or the things that are needed to grow the business in the right direction, and also spend the time with your family. So exactly what you said, fire yourself from positions if you are at that situation or you're at that time in your life, you're able to do that. Because when you start a business, a lot of young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, they wear a lot of hats. And there's nothing wrong with that. At the beginning, you're trying to save money, you're trying to grow the business. So if you're in a situation where you're trying to save money, grow the business, you have to be very focused on your schedule, blocking your schedules, and aligning deadlines on your schedule. So I love what you said. So actually having tight deadlines, so you put yourself in a deadline that you hold yourself accountable. If you feel you can't hold yourself accountable, get an accountability partner. Find somebody that will hold you accountable, whether it's a coach, a mentor, a friend, a family member. Allow them to be almost like your CEO of you and focus on making you accountable. I'm actually part of a group of gentlemen, and it's pretty amazing is we hold ourselves accountable. It's a board of directors of men, and it's 7 of us. There are 6 or 7 of us, and we hold each other accountable to setting our goals and doing and actually accomplishing it. So you could easily create a board of directors for yourself or with a couple of buddies or a couple of other entrepreneurs, somebody to hold you accountable to getting your goals. And then on the same time, set the deadlines, but be very focused on blocking on your schedule. So what I mean by that is if I have a project to do, if I block off 2 hours for that project, when my 2 hours are done, I move on to the next task. Because a lot of people, hour 1, they're killing it. Hour 2, they're still doing well. Hour 3, they slow down. Hour 4, they start dying out. But they're still in their head, I got to finish this. I got to finish this. That your product level decreases drastically because you're not continually giving that everything as you go. So be very clear with, if you got an hour schedule on something, block it off, kill it, maximize your time. When you're done, start the next day if you didn't finish it. So being very, very focused on your schedule in that direction as well.
Yeah, be very uncompromising. And I'm going to make an assumption here. So please let me know if you have a difference of opinion. But
Yep.
I believe a huge part of that is making sure that, your sales process and your product or service delivery process are really dialed in, because like for me, I'm a lot more comfortable hiring out when I know that there's revenue coming in to pay for that person, or more importantly, profit to make sure to handle things. So I'm making an assumption, but I imagine one of those things that you really worked with for those 64 people and that you continue to work with people is making sure that they actually have their mechanism for bringing in the money to support their business.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the key to it is finding your outlet of what is going to bring the income in and really, really targeting, focusing on it, right? So a lot of people, they scatter themselves too thin at the beginning when it comes to building a business. And they, like I said, they wear too many hats and they don't know when to give up control on something. And you see that they want to have the control of everything. And that's the issue with a lot of entrepreneurs. And as you become more wise to your business and you realize how important your time is, and you start looking at time as a currency, and then you actually learn how to delegate things, how to start firing yourself in certain positions to allow you to have the more time for yourself.
Hmm. Where, in your opinion, if at anything, does copywriting come into play?
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting question. I mean, it comes into play into everything, right? I mean, when it comes to your website, to your anything you put down as content, you want to be as authentic as you possibly can with your content, and have the right that everything you're putting on sticks to who you are and is aligned with who you are and is branded of who you are. I'm all about branding and keeping everything aligned. So when you're doing your content and you're having your copyright issues or anything like that, is having everything aligned perfectly, that your copyrights are protected at all times, right? And your image and your branding is protected at all times.
Yeah, and of course, I was thinking in terms of copyright, just I think part of that dialing in with the sales process is making sure that you are efficient in your messaging. That people will
Yeah.
read that piece and they're like, okay, yep, and they're like, you get them down that. I hate saying funnel because it almost become like a fad term now, but you've got them
Yeah,
in
of
your
course.
funnel and you've got them
Yeah.
going down the right path for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you because again, you work with fathers in particular. What just for fathers, what's unique to them about challenges that they face that, people that aren't a parent or aren't a father might not fall into the same trap?
I think is living with, I always say this honestly, is living with regrets. A lot of individuals will go their whole life focused on building a relationship, think they have these great relationships. They don't focus on what truly has a meaning in their life. And then when they get to a certain age, they have all these regrets.
Hmm.
And I think, and I'm going to change it around there, because as a dad, I've lived my life completely to the max, where especially the last 4 to 5 years, I've really, really toned and focused on living with no regrets. When my dad would give me a phone call, I would be there to help him. When my mom calls, my wife needs something, my kids, I call it the yes factor. If they ask me to do anything that's time sensitive, where it's, Dad, let's play catch, Dad, let's go for a bike ride, I always say yes. That's the yes factor. I drop everything off his family first. And I think a lot of dads, they always in their head look at it and they don't learn how to be present, where it's like, okay, I'll do this later. Okay, Tommy, we'll go play catch later. And it's just always pushing everything away because they have this vision where they have to be the breadwinners of the house. They got to be the entrepreneurs. They got to build, they got to grow. And I think a lot of them will hit a moment in their life, they're going to have tons of regrets,
Hmm.
because life changes in seconds. Moments happen, blink of an eye. And all of a sudden, things change and you're sitting there like, wow, I wish I did this. And you have these regrets you're going to have the rest of your life. I always say this. I mean, you hear this all the time, is the biggest thing people have on their deathbed is tons of regrets of things they didn't do, whether it's even for yourself. I think as an entrepreneur, we get so focused on growing a business and being successful, and with social media, putting ourselves out there and having this image. And we truly forget about what is truly important. One, ourselves, fulfilling our cup, like Oprah says, filling your cup to the max, and being fulfilled and taking time for yourself. And then the second is being there for your family, and building a legacy with your family, that one day you're not here, those memories and that memory bank is be so filled with your children, they're going to be able to pass that on to their children, all those memories. And it continues generation to generation. Because what happens is you work, 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 you come home. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they give their children a gift, and they don't realize that content from their children's face is not about the gift, it's their parents' acknowledgement of them. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said, dads not learning what their priorities are, and not knowing how to balance the level that they can be successful as an entrepreneur and as a dad.
Yeah. Now, I'm not a parent myself, so it's very easy to me, play Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
But I would imagine one of the challenges is guilt. Like they have this incredible sense of guilt because they haven't mastered their schedule the way you've gotten as close to possible as mastering, depending on how you look at it. And I think there's a thing where, like you said, they're never where they need to be. Meaning, if they're playing catch, they're not in the moment, and even if they're at work, because of that guilt, they're not in the moment there. There's this underlying residual feeling of I'm not where I'm supposed to be, which I would imagine drains their energy, keeps them less effective and less productive, which then, of course, it's like a snowball. Then there's more guilt and more hesitation, more frustration. Then they can spend even less time with their family, more guilt, more stress, less time. And it's almost like a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where really learning, studying, and focusing on your schedule comes into part. So you're very precise with your schedule. So if I have a blocked non-negotiable time from even from 5 to 6 p.m., that's my family time. I'm there, my phone's off, I'm present. You're being fulfilled because you know you're present there. This is your time with them. So when you're at work the rest of the day, or you're at work after, you don't feel guilty because you were present. You dedicated that slot to them. So I don't think it's something where we as have to put that pressure on ourselves, because things happen, life changes, but we have to be very precise with it. I keep going back to our schedule, because if you could study and manage your schedule, and even when I'm talking about friends or family or parents, studying the white parts of your schedule, because there's tons of white openings in your schedule that we make no use of. That white time on your schedule is probably just as important as fill time. So those white times is when you could catch up phone calls, catch up an old friend you haven't talked to in a while, bring a later meeting and ask if you could bring it up earlier so you can have more time at night with your family. So being very precise to your schedule eliminates that guilt after, because you're giving everything you can on that locked time. So, when I'm with my family, I'm present. When I'm with my work, I'm present there and I'm focused there. So being very precise with the blocked time on your schedule and really, really focusing and studying and learning it, you're key at that point. You're doing amazing.
Fair enough. I want to ask you about your podcast. What inspired you to go, like, how would you describe your podcast, and what specifically inspired you saying, all right, I'm actually going to do this on a regular basis and put content out in this way?
Yeah, the podcast, everything I do has a purpose, right? And when I do the podcast, I realized that I wanted to build myself as a brand. There's a story behind that too. I'll give you a quick little rundown of that in a sec. But I realized I wanted to build myself as a brand. And I thought, okay, how am I going to connect with certain individuals that are a higher level than me, that I could connect to, I could build a network with? And realistically, if I didn't have a platform, they're not going to ever take my call. They're never going to listen to me. So I was kind of selfish in a way, where I was building a platform to help me propel my branding by connecting me to other higher level entrepreneurs that are a higher level than me, right? And that's where it all started. It started as just as a platform of a networking tool for myself, and then from there it just evolved. And I never had anything scheduled. Like when I do a podcast, I never have set questions. I usually don't even learn nothing about my guests before. I keep it as raw, as authentic, and as curious as possible, because I think that brings the best kind of content, because you don't know where the conversations will go. And the reason I'm building myself with the platform of the podcast is that was one step to propel me to the coaching, another step to propel me for the book, and then another step to propel me on stage, which I've done a couple of stage appearances, and I'm going to hopefully do quite a bit more. This all of the self branding, which I started last April, April 2020 was the first time I really started branding myself in 26 years as an entrepreneur. There is a higher purpose of it, and I don't know if you're aware of a story of my son. Did you
No,
ever hear this?
no,
So my
let's have it.
son, was it was 2008, April 19th. My son was born. It was my wife was 31 weeks pregnant. It was unexpected. I was your typical entrepreneur. I was working crazy hours, never home. I had a 1.5-year-old daughter, wasn't present at all. And we were rushed to the hospital. It was an emergency C-section. I almost lost my wife and my son the same night. My wife was in surgery. My son they had just done a C-section to take my son out. And they pulled me in a room. They said, your son's got about 5 to 10 minutes of life left. Do you have a name for him? I didn't even have a name for him. And the name that came to my head was Tiago, which means God's a warrior. And I just wrote that on his birth certificate. And that's when his journey started. We're very fortunate. There were so many stories in the process, but we're very fortunate. We have one of the greatest pediatric care hospitals in the world, Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, Canada. And that became his home for the next 4 months. And through the process, he had 6 organs severely damaged, severe brain damage. And we were told he would make it about 5-6 times, and we kept pushing through it, and he made it. And at 4 months old, I said, listen, it's time to take him home to the doctor. And the doctor's like, listen, your son's not even feeding yet. He was on feeding tubes. He was only barely 4.5 pounds. They didn't want to discharge him. And I convinced the doctors to discharge him. And we took him home with a little 1-ounce bottle. It looked like a little toy bottle to feed him with milk. He had reflux. He couldn't even swallow yet. So we had to take a baby that was 4.5 pounds at 4 months old, never swallowed. We had to teach him how to swallow. And we're handed these discharge papers with a label quote unquote, or a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. Instead, he'd be confined to a wheelchair his whole life. And that's when my journey started as a parent. Like, I really learned how to be a parent. I learned how to precise my time, and I really learned how to study my schedule where I could be home. And I would spend 3-4 hours every single day with him, stretching his legs. And I thought in my head, I did not want that fear that wake up one day at 6 years old and be like, I didn't give my son every opportunity I can, and this is what happened. So I thought, I cannot control his outcome, but I'm gonna give him every opportunity to give him the best opportunity to be the best version of himself. And that's when our journey really started. And it was just every type of therapy, every type of exercise. I did what I could. And we took everything with a huge win. When he was like 6 months old and my daughter dropped something in the kitchen floor and he started laughing for the first time, that was a huge win. We all started crying. When he was a year and a half old and he balanced himself standing for the first time, that was a huge victory. So we took everything. And my son's got this mind of just this relentless, and I even have the word tattooed on myself, relentless, because of him, because he has this relentless mind where you put something and tell him to do something, he won't stop till he does it. I don't know where he gets that. And we would put all these goals on all over his bedroom. For like, one of them would be like hop on one leg, another one would be like jump this high, and we would set these goals. And some of them, like hop on one leg, took a little over 3 months to obtain every single day, hours at a time, just to get hop on one leg. And we did all these. And we were able to finally convince the doctors to put him on AFOs, which are braces. And they would have braces up to his knees. And the doctor said, listen, it's a miracle that he's walking with braces, but he's going to be in these braces till he's about 18, 19, maybe even 20 years old. And this was about 5.5 years old. And I looked at my wife and I said, listen, by 12 years old, I want him to run a marathon. And my wife thought it was crazy. And before his 11th birthday, my son was out of his braces. And he turned April 19, 2021, he turned 13. April 18th, we ran our first marathon together.
Wow.
And it's been this incredible journey. And my son's like the sweetest, kindest soul you ever meet, and just this relentless mindset. And we've set all these goals for him from here till he turns 18. We have all these goals physically, mentally, spiritually. We have all these goals for him. And from baseball to running. So be honest, the reason I'm building this platform for myself and the whole journey why I'm getting back to this story, kind of like turning it around here with the podcast, is to build myself as a brand, because I believe my son's story is going to be so powerful and impact so many people in this world. So I want to build myself as this brand. So when he's ready to step on stage, it'll be easy transition to put him on stage. So that is the whole purpose of me, everything I've been doing for the last 14, 15 months, to be honest.
So you're building the vehicle for him while simultaneously leveling up as a human and an entrepreneur, while simultaneously supporting him as he continues to level up.
100%. 100%.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. Don't even have words, man, but very, very inspiring. That's amazing. And, it's almost like I realized, like, okay, 5 years from now, when he turns 18, I could only imagine the kind of things that are happening between now and then, which I'm definitely looking forward to checking in about.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of cool things right now with him. And I've been documenting his life, video-wise and pictures and everything from day one, his progress. And I always put on the storyline, him running and doing stuff. And his brain was so damaged when he was born that he lost function of his whole right side of his body. And he's naturally right-handed. He learned how to do everything with his left hand. But with years and years of exercise, now he's literally like, this kid's a fitness fanatic. This kid works out 6 days a week, like works full out at 13. And he's leveled up his body now, but he's learned how to do everything with his left. So he's became this incredible little left-handed pitcher playing baseball. And the goal is by 18 to hit 90 miles an hour. So that's another video documentation. We're following his progress. He just hit 58 the other day at 13. So we're really following his progress. So we have all these little journeys. We're trying to really set these goals for him. And we're constantly feeding him with self-belief. We're removing all the fears. I do that with my daughter and my son constantly as parents. We're removing every fear. We're building the self-belief. We're pushing the self-belief that when he gets to a certain moment of his life and he's ready to take off and be on his own as an adult, he'll be like, unstoppable is a word.
Love it. I love it. Now, I don't know much about your book. Does your book go down this road, or is it a completely different topic?
We go a little bit down the road. Yeah, we talk about a story in there, and the book is it's essentially 7 lessons that a father if you really take out of it as an entrepreneur and learn how to balance and how to build memories and how to really just be accountable and be present as a father, right? Stuff that I've learned and I want to share with other people. And it's been received really, really well, and it's doing really well. So I'm proud of it, considering I've never wrote a book before, and I took pen to paper, and it's from the day we started writing. I say we. I was the day I was started writing in. It was March 18th. I started writing it March 19th, and by January it was out, and we hit #1 in 11 categories in Amazon within that like whatever 9-10 month period, which is pretty amazing.
That's awesome. I love it. What's the name of the book?
Entrepreneurial Dad. Can't get any easier than that.
I love it. I love it. Nice and easy. Cool. So, wow, we've spoken about so much here. I'll ask you this. You're still consulting, obviously, right? What are the biggest lessons that you're taking through the work that you're doing with your son to help other entrepreneurs? Is there something that kind of sticks out, or a way by which you approach things that you're taking those tools and helping people grow
I
in that
don't
way?
accept excuses.
Hmm.
My son doesn't have an excuse. Like if a 13-year-old will stand there and spend, like right now he has a new goal for jumping at a certain height. He wants to jump over a certain, he has these bars he tries to jump over, and he has his new height. He's been at it for almost 2.5 months every single day. Most people give up after a day or two, and he'll get it. I have no doubt he'll get it. And there's no excuses. And I find we allow ourselves to constantly give ourselves excuses not to succeed, reasons not to succeed. And I like breaking those. I mean, I that's a pet peeve of mine, is just when people have an excuse of why I'm not good enough, or why I'm not strong enough, or why I'm not smart enough, or why I'm not dedicated enough. It's a simple, have that mindset of being relentless, having that mindset of, if I'm going to accomplish something, I'm going to do what has to be done to get this done, and learn how to sacrifice. I mean, I called it, like we talked earlier, I called it 3 to 7. So I try to be home every single day from 3 to 7 p.m. with my family. And in order to be able to be present from 3 to 7 o'clock, that's a big chunk of the day. And being a business entrepreneur that runs multiple companies, and I'm running another book right now, I'm doing all these other ventures, I have to figure out a way to sacrifice myself. I'm up at 4:30 every morning. And I'm not one of those gurus or gagas that get up every morning like, yeah, it's 4:30. I can't stand it. I wake up, I'm rubbing my eyes, I'm cursing every single morning. But I realize if I'm up at 4:30, from 4:30 till 9 o'clock, you could get so much accomplished that the rest of the day just eases into this perfect situation after that. So learning what areas you can sacrifice yourself to be able to succeed throughout the rest of the day is so key. And eliminate excuses. Eliminate excuses, because they're not going to get you anywhere, right?
Hmm. Curious, knowing that you're waking up at 4:30 every morning, what time do you go to bed at night?
Usually around 9:30, 10.
Okay, got it. So there's
Yeah, yeah.
discipline there. It's making sure you got enough hours. You're making sure you're getting
Oh,
enough sleep.
100%. Yeah, 100%, 100%,
Right.
100%.
So that's interesting, because 9:30, 10. So you're there with them from 3 to 7, and then you're going to sleep around 9:30 or 10. So technically, there's a lot of time where, it's like, well, you can't go out and go to the movies, because between, unless you're going to the movies with them, you know what I mean? But there's just things like, I hear a lot like, wow, it's amazing. Like for me, I'm like, wow, how could I ever take off 3 to 7? And you're not taking off. I mean, you're living on it, but just
Yeah.
from the business, I'm just floored. I'm very inspired and very impressed, because that's amazing. A lot of people, they'll have excuses, they won't do it. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to, like you said, is prioritize what is meaningful to you, put your non-negotiables in there. And at the end of the day, it's just really, you have to fill your cup. You don't have children. That time can be for yourself and fill your cup, whether you're doing self-building, you're doing your exercise, and you're taking time for yourself, you're taking time to meditate, you're taking time on a building a car, whatever your hobbies are. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Taking time for yourself, because if you're fulfilled, I'm a strong believer in, and I'm all about family, I'm all about business, but I always put myself on top of everything, because mentally, spiritually, physically, if I'm at peak at all times, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna be able to serve nobody. I'm not gonna be able to serve my business. So I really make sure I take time for myself. Like every morning, I got a period where it's my time. When I'm coming home at the end of the day from the office, it's, I crank the music. That's my time. It's building my vibration up. I love music. So there's certain things that I do every day clockwise where it's locked into my routine that these are things that are filling my cup. They're going to put me at a higher level of vibration to make me feel better, make me react better when I get home, and also just really just fulfill me. So I feel like I'm giving back to myself. It's not like I'm constantly giving to everybody else. I'm giving back to myself. So I feel I'm able to serve everybody at a higher level.
Love it, love it. So we're almost wrapping up here. I have two or three more questions pop in my mind here. One of which is, in addition or besides no excuses, which is obviously a huge piece, what is the
Yeah.
most highly leverageable aspect, in your opinion, of what you work on with your coaching clients to get them over the top and get them moving forward?
Yeah, so when it comes to coaching, I'm very business oriented when it comes to coaching. So all the clients I take are very business oriented. I'm certified as life coach, certified as NLP. I really don't utilize much of that. So I don't do more of the life coaching. I do the very goal oriented coaches. You say, Jeff, I'm working with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs right now. One of them is building a nursing home business. So they came to me and say, Jeff, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to build. Okay, let's start from day one. Let's set up your business plan. Let's set up your goals. Let's set up a 3 month, 6 month, 1 year goal. Now, what do we do to capture our goal? Let's build the logo. Let's build the brand. Let's build the concept. Let's build your core values. Let's build your mission statement and start building the business. Now, how are we going to get clients? So I'm very driven. And when I coach people, I only coach people once a month. So I say, okay, Andrew, this is a list of these 12 things I need you to do from now till I see you in 30 days. Get them done. If you have any questions, here's my text, here's my phone number. You have any questions, they got to get done. If you're not done, I don't want no excuses. They're going to be done in 12 in the 30 days or 31 days, whatever that month is. When I see you again, these have to be done. If they're not done, we're going to really evaluate whether you want to work with me or not. So I'm very goal oriented, where I give you your tasks, I make you very independent, and it's all about seeing results. It's all about, in the end of this 12 months that we work together, if your goal is to have a successful business, I'm going to get you there. If your goal is to have a successful family life, I'm going to give you all the tools to get you there. And these are the things you're going to have to follow. So I make it very simple, where I explain why I'm doing everything. I set goals for them. I give them all the tools and say, this is what you have to do from A to B. Now get them done. And then I'll see you in 30 days, and let's make sure you're on track with everything. So that's all what I do with everybody. And it's very business or a lot of, like I said, I would say 80 to 90% of it is very business oriented. But we do part of the community, which I have a community called A Man's Purpose. And that is the actual, more of a group session, where it's more the fathers, entrepreneurs, where we have a lot of dad talk and just give you advice. And it's more of a community I'm trying to build on that aspect, where people just build, learn, grow off each other in a community setting.
Nice. And you know what I hear from you saying, I'm not sure if you're aware of Eben Pagan. He's an entrepreneur, and one thing I learned from him was inevitability thinking. It sounds like you're doing that, where you're basically saying, okay, this is happening. Let's just reverse engineer what needs to happen in order for that to happen, and then let's just do it. That's what I'm getting off of you. I love that. Cool, cool. So if people want to connect with you or learn more, is there a one link or a number of links? Like, what are the best way or ways for people to connect and learn more and get more on board with what you're doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, the easiest way is IG. I'm on every social platform. So you go from LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, but I'm on every single platform. But Instagram is the one I'm most prevalent on, is at Jeff Lopes, JFFLOPS, or you can hit us at the website. It's jeffreylopes.com, JFFREYLOPES. And if you have any questions or anything you want help with, or in general, just a chat, I love networking with people. I love meeting people like yourself and seeing high level entrepreneurs succeed. And that's just one thing I do, is every single week I try to network with at least 12 to 15 new people and just build relationships and just grow these relationships. I think it's so powerful that with social media, we're able to do this nowadays, where you have it in your fingertips, all these networks of people that you could really dive into and grow with. So utilize that as much as possible.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, you've been amazing here. In fact, I only have one more question. I've been looking forward to asking you this question,
Yeah.
because I ask it of many of my guests. But if you can go back in time, and this can be 5 years, 10 years, it can be 25 years, it can be any point in time, and give any younger version of yourself any piece of advice, what is that advice that you would give to that younger version of yourself?
Be patient and live in the moment. I think I've really learned how time is a currency later on in life. And as we get older and we see our parents getting older, and just losing my dad recently, I realized how important time is. And when you're young, time is abundance. and you really don't focus on time, and you're very impatient. And I made a lot of business mistakes when I was young in my 20s. I had some good wins, but I had a lot of losses because I was never patient. I was just go, go, go. If something didn't work, let's sell it off and move on to the next one. And some of these companies I sit back and I look at now, even investments, if I was a little more patient, I would be at a really, really higher level right now. So be patient. Don't be scared to ask questions. And that's another thing too, is as a young entrepreneur, now I surround myself, I networked as max I can. I try to learn off people every single day. When I was young, it was always, I could figure it out myself. I'll figure out a way to get it done. I could do it better than anybody else. It was always about me, 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 me. I'm better than everybody else. So be patient. Don't be scared to ask questions. Find a mentor. Mentors are so important, so key. Having somebody to literally throw ideas off, learn from their experience. These are all things that I never did when I was younger. And now that I'm in my 40s, I'm surrounding myself with individuals that are going to help me propel. I'm trying to learn off people like you, people every single day, other entrepreneurs. And I'm very patient, and I'm enjoying the process a lot more now.
Jeff Lopes, I've learned a lot from you today, and I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for, well, one, being so vulnerable in your story and stories, and sharing so much of your perspective on how you succeed and how you help others succeed. I really highly encourage people as they're listening to this to go back and listen again, because you dropped some real nuggets of gold with this. And thank you just so much for taking time out and sharing this with my audience, my friend. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, buddy. This has been a great conversation. Keep doing what you're doing. You're helping a lot of entrepreneurs, and obviously with your book and stuff, you're doing a lot of great stuff for yourself as well. So I'm excited to see your venture and your journey going forward as well.
Thank you again, Jeff. I really appreciate you being here today. And guys, I will leave all those links at shatterthemoldpodcast.com, where this episode resides, and in the YouTube description where I'm putting the video up. But speaking of links, while I'm giving them out, if you want to check out my book, one final reminder here, you can go to lastlawofattractionbook.com to check it out on Amazon, or you can check out my YouTube. That's youtube.com/Andrew Cap. With that said, thank you as always for listening, and be back soon, because you know I'll be back with another guest in the very near future. I will look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for listening to Shatter the Mold at www.shatterthemoldpodcast.com. My name is Andrew S. Kaplan. My name is Andrew S. Kaplan, and it's time to shatter the mold.